everyone. This is Kumar with Agile Meridian, and we are up to, I believe, episode 56 on our Agile Shorts.
Wow.
Our last episode was maybe a month ago, and since then we've had some recordings or some episodes on SAFe, the Scale Agile Framework, and Xscale. Today we're going to be getting back to our Agile Shorts, which is really a short discussion about something that we find pertinent to hopefully to you. And so with that, last week we were at a client site and we conducted a value stream mapping session. And I've personally been part of many value stream mapping sessions, but mostly using the SAFe, the Scale and Agile Frameworks model for value stream mapping. And this one was a little different, and it was one that we, the Agile Meridian folks, we developed, and mainly really Mike Jeber, who's on the call today. And so I thought we could kind of delve into the technique that we used, and the results and the outcomes that it produced. So I'm going to turn it to Mike. Mike, tell us a little bit about what we did at a high level.
Gotcha. So we do this as part of our accelerator programs, as part of our the disruptor method signature model. It's really meant to be a part of a group of activities or exercise that allows a company or a group of people in this case to really hone in on current state. And the reason we're doing that is we're trying to get a lot of ahas. We talk about in a lot of these, as we did this week, we talked about change and what change is like and how different humans interact differently with change and how do you help folks move forward with change. This is one of those pieces of the puzzle that we do to really help a group understand current state, get the space to empty the glass, as we talk about in the change management material that we have, and to get some ahas. It's also a chance for us to get ahas as well, for us to learn about the group that we're with, to get an understanding of current state. And again, we've talked, for example, last week, we talked with this group for several weeks prior to our kickoff session that we had together with them. But when we get into the activity, it's really interesting to watch everybody get involved and to exercise this activity, because this isn't something we sit down in the traditional sense and have someone do either a value stream map. Some people will recognize it as process mapping, looking at an idea or looking at the flow of a portion of an organization operating model from the inception of an idea to the delivery of value somewhere, right? And when you look at those traditional models, a lot of times it's interviews, it's time spent talking to different people while they're going through their work on their regular days. It's not really dedicated time where everybody gets to get together and do this as an activity. I think that's one of the key differences that I like that we do is we have these value stream maps, this idea of a segment of their business from idea all the way to value delivery gets generated from the source, from groups of people that have a very broad reach over the organization, can see that segment that we're looking at. They all can participate in that segment in some way. So we usually pick a topic or something that they can all inject in. So there's not somebody just sitting back and kind of doing this, although there is a lot of learning, because a lot of folks only see in, organizations that are siloed, they only see their silo, or they only see things to the right or to the left of them. They don't see the whole. It's part of that aha. A lot of frustrations come out in a lot of ways about current struggles and impediments and issues and stuff like that. But it's really this group getting together and generating this information on their own. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the outcomes and things that they get. But that's kind of the differences in what it is versus some of the more traditional ways to generate a process map, process flow diagram, or a value stream map.
Yeah, so Chris, you weren't there, so just to give you a little context, and I'd love to hear your questions on this. This was sort of a little deeper dive into, so it was more of a lean implementation of the value stream map rather than an agile implementation of the value stream map. So we were looking at not just the steps and the flow of value as it traversed across this line of business, but also the the blocks or impediments along the way, and we mark those along the way. And it was very illuminating, not only for us, of course, being the outsiders, but also for them.
Yeah.
So having said that, and what comes to mind for you, Chris, as a question, sort of to get into how we did it or what they got out of it.
Well, who was in the room, Mike, for starts?
Well, for this particular exercise, this is a catalyst team. So this group was brought together at this accelerator to be a catalyst team for continuous improvement within the organization. So what we did is we selected a segment of one of their value streams that everyone in that room had enough experience and knowledge around that they could participate in. Again, we're not trying to solve all the problems of an organization in a day and a half, which is how much time we've spent on this. But what we're trying to do is to get them into a pattern of activity together in terms of collaborating, bringing up ideas, and getting big and visual with what they do. Because we did this all on the walls, right? We did this in a big and visual way. You can do it remote, but it doesn't have the same impact. This group was kind of a layer, I would say middle upper layer of the organization. There were engineers, there were line managers, there were product owners, there were folks that were responsible for operations and all of the services for all of these groups. There was testing and automation. There was some senior leadership, a couple of folks that report directly to the CTO, and another person that reports to the COO. So you had operations and technology in there. So it was a smattering of folks across the group who is going to be they're going to be that initial catalyst team for continuous improvement for the entire organization. And this is an organization that has multiple products. Those products grew a lot through acquisition. So there's a lot of natural kind of siloing that happens when you apply or add companies to other companies. But it was interesting to see because they're already there. You can see, like when we do this, you can see the type of cultural strengths that an organization has just in the way that they kind of rally around and actually operate during this activity, or some of the challenges they may have, some of the gaps they may have in terms of their collaboration maturity, around their organizational knowledge and breadth and depth across the entire value stream versus just their segments. So it was a good group, and they jumped right in. We're very fortunate with this group. Their culture, very strong culture, very collaborative culture. Some folks were as new as a couple of years. Other folks had been there over 19 or 20 years. So it was a big smattering of knowledge and different expertise in the group.
Did they, as you were taking them through it, how resistant to doing the activity were they?
I don't think that they were in this case. We've had groups that have gone in before, and we've done this before. We value stream map. We do process flow maps. Here's all of our process flow maps. We're like, great, that's wonderful. Part of this really isn't intended as an exercise to generate a value stream map or a process flow map to show everybody where we are current state. We use that as an activity to generate all these other things. One of our intents in doing this, and the reason it's structured the way that it is we're looking at the end of about a day and a half, closer, maybe a day and a half to 2 days, to be able to take a group of people from nothing up on the wall to all of these early, some low-hanging, some very large, but early ideas around opportunities for continuous improvement. So there's a specific goal to get out of it, to find some things that they can work on right away. When we look at this in terms of the accelerators, the signature offer that we do for the disruptor method, we're trying to help folks initially populate some Kanban style visibility elements in work that we can educate them on how to build a practice and a capability, but we want to do it on real work. We don't want to do it theoretically. We want to take their real issues today or the things they want to work on and start doing that. So we come out of this session. In fact, this group had 35 potential improvement ideas. 33 potential improvement ideas, which is great. That's fantastic. We've seen anywhere from, in the low 20s to over 40 in about a day and a half's activity over a portion of their business. And what this does is gives people a pattern of activity to collaborate with together on, to quickly generate and align around current state and say, okay, now we have one version that all the people in this room agree on. Because what we see when you do the exercises is a lot of times everybody in there doesn't agree that this segment operates this way. It doesn't for them. They see it differently, or it impacts them differently. So there's a lot of learning that goes on, a lot of mind share, but we actually have actionable things that we can go after right out of the gate. When we finish our kickoffs, we can go right into our cadence, our weekly cadence with this group, and we can start working on things. We can set up a Kanban. We can start showing them how to use the Kanban and what good Kanban etiquette is on real work and real improvement items that they can actually start getting lift on while they're learning the techniques early on to become this collaborative catalyst team for continuous improvement.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Kumar.
Just real quick, I was really struck by the reverse flows and some of the sort of like
we call them spinnies,
the process where things got stuck, right? And the debate and the conversation that ensued from that, right? It's like, oh, well, that's right. This happens, and then this happens, and then that happens. And this wasn't a huge company. It was interesting to me that as companies grow and scale, these processes become sort of obscure, and it's hard to know what really happens unless you do something like this. And so it uncovered a lot of ahas for the group, I think, and I know because that's what they said. And I think it was really great exercise.
It's amazing too. You could do it we do typically 3 passes. So we go from a blank slate, like in this case, 4-foot butcher board or butcher paper up on the walls, right, with nothing on it. Show them the technique, which is very, very easy, just a couple of simple things. And we do a couple of passes. By the 3rd pass, we are pulling actionable data out of that value stream across the entire thing. We're not highly detailing everything in the beginning and not getting to the stuff at the end. Everybody gets an opportunity to play, and there's a lot of opportunity for the group to pair and group on segments of that. And I was interested to see, Kumar, your thinking on when you saw that happening. We went from everybody kind of working together on the first pass to get kind of alignment around here's our core, and then taking each section and just jumping in and breaking it out. What did you think about that when you saw it?
Yeah, I thought it was really a good opportunity for people to learn from each other. And the smaller group, the smaller pairings allowed more intimate conversation around that area. And in some cases, the people that were paired together, one of them had quite a bit of knowledge in the area and the other didn't, right, have as much experience. And so it was a good way to share information flow between people that don't typically work together all the time, or maybe have different perspectives around how the work progresses. So I thought that was really good. And they brought it up as being, great that they were able to pair with different people throughout the day and a half or so. And even though this was a really collaborative group, they work well together already. I think this workshop brought them even closer together, not just around the camaraderie that they built in the session, but also just around the work and understanding the work. So it was really good.
Really? And wow, is that tell me more about that. And these discovery points, at least 2 dozen discovery points that generated more conversation as we went through, especially the second pass when things got a little more detailed, which then led to some pretty interesting current state models where they had, this is Kumar's section of it, and then when it hits me, this is how it changes. Or when it gets to this point, the 2 of us do 2 completely different things, right?
Yeah, it was interesting.
It was very, very educational for us.
And some questions. I think he's been waiting to
patiently.
Yeah,
patiently between you two. Yeah. So first observation, I think, is that, and I want to point this out. You guys have kind of put it out there and it's kind of buried in what you said, but it sounds like that you got great. It was a great opportunity. If you didn't get anything out of it, it was a great opportunity for team building, right? Because you had these people that, they collaborate, but do they work together as a team? It sounds like that's what came out. It also sounds like that you honed in on what the company actually does in terms of that particular segment, right? And then you got outcomes out of it, right? You got your next, if you will, your continuous improvement items. And I guess my question would be, so doing all that, are you going to take it and how do you then capture it and visualize it going forward? Because as you were talking, Mike, you said you had a person who works with the CIO and a person works with the CTO, and there are going to be other people that are going to hear the rumblings of this, right? And want to see what was done. For many of them, they may not have ever seen this, right? It's all kind of tribal knowledge in people's heads. How are you going to take this and make it some sort of artifact, some sort of living artifact that goes forward?
Well, it's actually interesting because we talked to a couple of the stakeholders after the engagement. And one of the things that they brought up unprompted was actually a couple of things of how they envisioned they could utilize this moving forward. Obviously, it was a paper version because we're all collaborating, very simple and easy to move things around. They're going to digitize this and make a digital version so that it's captured and shareable across an organization that spans the globe, right? So they want to be able to share that, make it visible. But they were very specific in noticing that it's a living document, that this will change over time. So it's not something that's just going to get stored away in a folder with a bunch of suggestions and not get back to. They're going to have we're going to pull those items out and leverage them. But the actual VSM or the flow diagram itself will not only continue to live on and grow in a digital format, it's going to be made public and visible to different levels of the organization. They plan on having conversations to show them, here's an example of a slice of our company right now and some of the things we're dealing with and some of the challenges we're dealing with. And oh, by the way, we know that exists in these other slices too. We just haven't done the actual VSM because we had conversations around it. They're also looking at it from a standpoint of hiring. Hey, when we go to hire new people or we onboard new people, we can show them this is how we operate today. And oh, by the way, this is the improvements we're planning to make to that and how we're going to operate in the future. They also, since they're a company that grows through acquisition, they plan to use this with their current VCs and any other funding sources that they get. If there's anybody that they're looking to acquire, they're going to align this up with the way that they operate currently today to see where those matches of strengths are and where there may be potential impediments or some grinding gears. They came up with all of this on their own at the end of the engagement. And we didn't even suggest these items. They could just vision after seeing it, like there's so many more uses for this than just us sitting around the room and understanding what happens today. We can see a lot of applications for this. And that was really encouraging to us because some groups we work with, we kind of feed that to them. Hey, you can use it this way. You can use it that way. They immediately saw 3, 4, 5 different uses for this thing with the idea that it's going to be a living document for them moving forward.
I agree. I think this group was just jazzed by the end of our session. And granted, we didn't just do VSM with them. We did a lot of other things that you mentioned, Mike. But at the end of this session, they were really jazzed up with the potential that the visibility not only provided them, but also will provide their leaders, right, and their counterparts, their peers. Of course, not everyone in the company was represented, and that could be a next step for them. And they mentioned it would be great to do this with sales and marketing and with other parts of the organization.
Right. Right.
It was
even a detailed one with operations. I think they were talking about within service.
Yeah, Chris, do you have any other questions for us?
I do. So when am I going to be able to take the class, Mike, to tell me?
Well, it is a part of all of our accelerators that we do. So we go through and do this. Even if someone has done value stream mapping in the past, again, that a lot of times the intent of that was for someone to kind of lay out what their prescriptive suggestions were going to be and try to use their existing map as a basis. We're coming from the other angle on this. So we haven't done this as a course or a workshop yet. We've certainly done it with all of our accelerators and our signature offer when we're going to help organizations transform.
I will say
build
that
these
it would
capabilities.
be wise for us to, even just for us internal coaches that use this and the partners that we have, that will support us in our clients, that we create some sort of a short class or workshop or something that shows people how to use our techniques. I mean, it's not so unique, but it is different from ones I've done in the past. And so the 3 passes, the colors that we use for the different post-it notes and things like that, just something more specific as to how to run a value stream mapping session the way we do it. And I think the
Right.
outcome will really bear out the success of the method itself.
Right.
I'm looking forward to that class. That's
All
all I
right,
gotta say.
sounds good.
Absolutely.
Well, we're treading into longish territory, so if there aren't any other questions, we'll include information in the show notes as to the disruptor method and other things that we mentioned. All right, so thanks for
Thank you.
watching, everyone, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.